Which side is the graduating class? I think you owe yourselves a very loud clap. I'm hearing claps, but I'm hearing very controlled claps. And this is for the class, the current class 12? Is this the current class 12 or the current class 11? You have to clap for your seniors. Now that we've got that all out of the way, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I realize that some of you have had to swim here to get to this location, but thank you so much. To our students, our alumni, teachers, members of the Shiv Nadar Foundation, our friends and family, a warm welcome to our special guest, Mr. Roshni Nadar, Chairman and Managing Director, Nestle India, Ms. Geeta Goyal, Country Director, Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, and to our VidyaGyan board members, Mrs. Gauri Ishwaran, Shri Atul Gupta, who are on the stage with us. This is truly an exciting day. This is our third batch graduating. And what I want to do is I want to start by talking about the admissions process. VidyaGyan started in 2009, and at that particular time, the number of applicants that we had was only 2,500. People in the state of Uttar Pradesh weren't really sure about what VidyaGyan was, why was it free, what was the opportunity. 9 years later, 3 batches, including this one graduating. This year for our admissions test, we had 2.5 lakh students apply for the VidyaGyan examination, which is a very big jump, and it's absolutely incredible. What's also more incredible is that when we started VidyaGyan in 2009, despite the fact that it was an all-residential school, despite the fact that it was co-ed and it's in rural Uttar Pradesh, and our students are from rural Uttar Pradesh, we had 35% girls, which was an amazing number, I think, by all school standards. And as of today at VidyaGyan, we have 47% girls. So almost 50% girls. So anybody who says that, parents of rural India don't want to invest in the education of girls or want them to stay home to help out in house chores, I think all your parents are a role model for them because they've certainly changed the way everyone thinks. So I think a big credit goes to your parents. And you owe your parents quite a bit. We did something very interesting this year at VidyaGyan. We realized that the sheer number of people applying is now, as you know, at 2.5 lakhs. And next year it might even become more. But how do we make the admissions process even more streamlined and more easy? So this year, for the first time, the first test that the students appear for was a manual test. But the second test, when we narrowed down the numbers to around 6,000 students, was a computerized test. So much like what students take when they go for the SATs, is a computerized test. So we did the same thing here. So some of the images that you're seeing is of students who came from all over Uttar Pradesh, and for the first time, they were taking a test which was completely online. The advantages of this are many. Firstly, the results are almost immediate. The question paper need not be set in advance. It's much more cognitive in the way it throws questions at you. And of course, I think that it's a lot more fair. The ambition for VidyaGyan going forward is that by the time, another 2 years from now, we hope that we'll be able to even have the second test, the first test as well as the second test, through this electronic system. And hopefully it'll be a new way of testing students at a much larger scale than has ever before been done in this country. So I think with VidyaGyan there have been many, many firsts, and even in the admissions process, we want this to be a first step. The other thing which is very important to note is that the Shiv Nadu Foundation and the VidyaGyan management undertakes this entire exercise on our own. So this is the first independent test of this large scale that is also held in the country that we basically do on our own. So it's a great process. It takes 6 months. Our Chief Admissions Officer, Mr. Maheshwari, and his team, along with our team of teachers, HCL volunteers, really get behind this to make sure that whichever VidyaGyan student is in this room today truly deserves his or her spot at VidyaGyan. So I think that's very important to remember. For the VidyaGyan students who are graduating, even the current batch who will be graduating next year, please do realize that to make you successful and to make you take that next step, what Mr. Banerjee mentioned, the different university students are going to, the different programs they're going to, there is a full army of people behind you that make that happen. So no matter how old you get and no matter how far you get, don't forget that. Now I'd like to direct your attention to something that Mr. Banerjee talked about. He said that there were 22 students from VidyaGyan who joined the HCL Tech B program. So I think a lot of you in the audience might be wondering, what is the HCL Tech B program? This is a very unique program which is devised by HCL Technologies, which is the largest company in our group, and as of today, the third largest IT company in India. I'm waiting for a clap. Right. So, some of the gaps that we see, because we also represent an IT company in India, is that there are lots of young and bright minds with aspirations in the country, yet the opportunities are only so many. So what is the gap which is taking place? We see this in our company, that a lot of freshers who come into the company right after their bachelor's sometimes still have to undergo a certain training before they can actually be put on job, which means to some extent the higher education is not doing the job of preparing them for the jobs which are in the market today. There is a significant gap. Much of what you guys also sometimes do after VidyaGyan, you take a few years off to do coaching to be able to make it to some specialist institutes. That's because currently there is a big gap that occurs. But the beauty of the generation and the age that you all live in is that you're digital natives. Unlike what perhaps even I was when I was growing up till I probably got to grade 8 or grade 9, you all have technology literally on your fingertips. So HCL Tech B is really I would say a bridge and a unique program that's addressing the gap in the real world, filling it in with the knowledge and the skills, and then putting a class 12 student into the workplace within a matter of 8 months. So I mean, just to put it, you'll see a video about it, but it's really interesting. A class 12 student, not just VidyaGyan, sits for the HCL Tech B admissions process, which is quite strict and it's purely merit-based. After he or she makes it through the process, he or she is given about 8 months or 9 months of training. And in 8 or 9 months of training, he or she immediately ends up joining HCL, which is the third largest IT company in India, and gets a job. So at the age of 18 and a half or 19, you start drawing a salary. So this also breaks a lot of notions around higher education. Yet, once you are at a job in HCL, the program allows you over the next 4 to 5 years to also pursue your undergraduate simultaneously. But you're at a job. I think today, for a lot of students coming out of school and getting into university, what is the universities? Universities are a way for you, of course, to get educated, but it's also a platform and a jump for you to get a job. So imagine if you're able to get a job straight out of school. And the fact that 22 of our students from VidyaGyan, and there was no partiality, made it through a purely meritorious process and made it into the HCL Tech B program, itself says that I think for the teachers, you're doing a great job to actually make VidyaGyan students job ready, not just college ready. So that's very amazing. So Just to reiterate, it's an earlier career program for the brightest. It's systemic and systematic in the way it's conducted and the way it's run. At the moment, at HCL Technologies, we have 200 HCL Tech Bs, and with each year, we hope to add more. And these are the brightest class 12 students. So you're competing with the best and the brightest, and at the end of the tunnel, you're technology specialists and you have a job. So in the first year, we launched this in 2017. We had 8 VidyaGyan students. And this year, it's exciting because 24 students have made it through this program. And from the feedback that we got, at least in the first cohort, the HCL Tech B program, the leader of the cohort was actually a VidyaGyan student. So that's also amazing to hear. I'd just now like to move towards the end of my speech by just a simple thank you to a lot of supporters who've been part of the VidyaGyan journey. As you can see, their names are on the screen. These people, by way of scholarships for VidyaGyan students at higher education, by way of scholarships and funding for training programs of students, by way of giving them opportunities abroad to experience and to study. They've each played a very, very important role to make sure that our VidyaGyan students really are able to compete on a level playing field. So my deepest gratitude to them, and I hope we have more supporters that come through along the way. So today, to the graduates, you join an elite set of school alumni, and with a very different start. I mean, who knows, one of you could become the future CEO of HCL. That's also possible. So keep driving yourself, keep being ambitious, keep pushing yourself, working very hard. We're extremely proud of you, and the journey has just begun. And make your 7 years at VidyaGyan count. Thank you.